get mentorship out in front of the district, because he thought, and I certainly agreed with him, that mentorship was an underutilized strategy within our clubs. So I went shopping to see what there was in the district, and there's a bit going on, but the club that really seems to be doing it very well, and several clubs do new club orientation, but they don't necessarily have the mentorship component. The club that's doing it very well is the Arlington Club. So I've asked representatives of Arlington to show us around tonight and teach us what they do so well. And then we'll have a chance to talk with them. And you may even have some things you can share with us about what you're doing. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Assistant Governor Dave Duskin, Joel Barrett, who is in chair of the committee in Arlington that looks after mentorship, and Joe Klein is the guy they lassoed to come as a reasonably new member to talk about it from his perspective. So welcome, Arlington, and go for
it. Thank you, Dennis. I accused him of us maybe being the only club that sent something to him, but he says some other clubs sent some things on relating to mentoring, and so I'm sure he'd be more than willing to share that with you. The learning objectives this evening is, as he says, primarily to talk about mentoring, but mentoring is a part of the orientation of new members. So we're kind of doing a hybrid and going to talk about that as well. We're going to provide our model and tell you about our model and how we use it. And then hopefully we would get those in the audience, the participants, to share some of the things they do. We've got some very experienced Rotarians in the participating, including our President-elect Carol and our President-elect nominee Bev, and our district trainer Rod. So I'm sure they've got a lot of information that they can share as well. I thought we'd start with looking at resources that are available. And we're going to start, I'm going to go to screen sharing here and show you this. You should all be familiar with the district website, but I'm always amazed at how many Rotarians in our district are not familiar with all of the drop downs that are at the top. And what I want to look at are the resources that are available at the district level in the subject that we're talking about. If you look under resources, there's a membership section and there's a resources section. What we're going to be looking at are the membership resources under that drop down. I'm going to click on that and pull it up. And as you can see, there's a whole list of resources that are available on the left side of the page here. And you're going to see that although our club would like to think that maybe we invented and came up with some of these solutions, that we really borrowed a lot of components of our orientation materials and mentoring materials from these materials that are on this page. I'll give you an example. Down here under subpages, there's one called Membership Matters Sample Letters. Our club uses these letters. There's 12 letters, and our president sends them out to new members after they're inducted. And let me pull up one of them here. I guess I have to click down below here. And you'll see that it's set up as a fill in the blank sort of thing, but we've done some adaptations to that, and let me show you what we're using in place. Here's our welcome letter, and you can see I filled in Joe's name because he's the new boy on the block that's joining us to tell you about a perspective from a new member.
I think those are on a different screen, Dave. They're not showing up.
Okay, let's see. What do I need to do there?
Are you on two screens or is it in your background?
I'm on the one screen. Were you seeing the earlier one?
I didn't see any of them open.
No, I haven't seen them open.
Okay, let's see.
Looks like they're at the bottom of your screen, and you
bottom left.
They've already downloaded. You just have to open down there. Would that work?
I'm assuming you have them open, but you may have to do new share and click on that new document that opened inside of Zoom.
Do you see that?
No.
No.
Well, I can just explain it, that the welcome letter that we have right out of the chute, the president is telling the new member who their mentor is. We've doctored that up. It was when we were showing when I was showing the website, were you able to see that?
Yes, yeah, you can see the website. And my assumption is that document, if you go down and do new share under screen share, I bet you can select that document and then hit share again.
But saying screen sharing is stopped as the shared window is closed.
Okay.
Do you know what that means, Phoenix?
Do you still have your document, your Word document showing? Or has it gone too?
It's gone.
Okay. Yeah, you could open that document, do a second screen share, and you could probably find it.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, this is the letter. So I need to go out of the screen share and go back into it, it looks like. But you can see our president is telling Joe right out in the second paragraph there that Yola is his mentor and what the mentor's role is. So now there's 12 of these letters, and they each one has a different subject. I'm going to go back now. I guess I have to stop share and then go in and share screen again, and let's see. Are you?
Dave, you don't have to. Oh.
Are you seeing it now?
I see the website.
Website, that's what I'm looking at, yeah. So back under membership resources, the other things that we have borrowed, and you'll see our versions of them later, but we have used, I don't know if Chilliwack is still using the passport. Could maybe one of you from Chilliwack, are you using the passport to membership program?
No, we're not this year.
Okay. But our club has adopted the passport to membership, but we've updated it to meet our purposes, and I think Yola's going to walk through it. Hopefully, I can get back up on the screen our version of it here in a minute. I don't really know. I don't know the participants. I can see your names, but I don't know how many of you are membership chairs or how many of you have orientation programs in your clubs. But you might, if you do, if you could indicate that as we're going through the discussion here, it would be helpful. There's a couple other things that I might point out on this resource page. There's down in the Rotary International section, there is a section on new member orientation. Oops, down in the documents, right here. And it's a nice little booklet. And can you see that? I printed it off for our club, but we haven't used it. But there's a whole section in here on page 6 on mentoring. I'll scroll down quickly through all of this other stuff on the process. And here's a welcome to Rotary Mentoring worksheet. We have a worksheet that we're going to share, and I went right past page 6, I think. Here's a section on mentoring right here. It starts, and it goes through mentors' responsibilities. Yola, as our mentor chair, is going to kind of go through what our club does and how we do it. There's some lists of resources. And then I showed you the appendix that I'd scrolled down to for the mentoring worksheet. Our club uses a checklist for mentoring. So in our club, at least, we believe our orientation starts really with the person that's proposing the new member, telling the new member what Rotary is about, that sort of thing. And then after the proposed person has been approved by the membership committee or recommended to be to the board to be approved, it then goes to the board, and we have what's called an outreach coordinator in our club that's a member of the membership committee, and that outreach coordinator then meets with the proposed member and goes over all of the obligations and the advantages of being in a Rotary club, and gives them some of the history and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the second step in the orientation process. Our club has, in our procedure, we have decided to put in the step of having criminal background checks, and there's a long story behind that, but we're now doing that. And then after if that comes back good, then we, like many other clubs, we publish the name. Look, if there's no objections, then that person is inducted into the club. At the induction, the proposer and the mentor is always involved in that process. And so I think at this particular point, I'm going to turn it over to Yola Barnett, who's our mentor chair, and have her kind of walk through our process. So Yola.
You're muted, Yola.
I had the unruly dog barking next door, and so I muted. Sorry. Thank you, Joe. So as Dave mentioned, our club, really views the role of the proposer as the very first step in the orientation process, because what we found over the years is that when we have new members join Rotary, they don't always know what to expect. And so sometimes they stay and they linger and they don't really get involved. And sometimes they click and they do get really well involved. So, looking at the type of person that's coming into the club, is it somebody who is going to fit within what Rotary means, the service aspect of it? It's not just a networking opportunity, although that's certainly a big part of it. The camaraderie that we have within our group, making sure that people, when they come to our meetings, that they're introduced to people, they're greeted at the door, they're welcomed in. People don't sit in cliques around the meeting room at every single table. And so I see Connie is asking if in our club, if the person that proposes a new member is that person's mentor. No. We actually set up a separate mentor for a good reason. So We've got your sponsor, the sponsor who brings you into the club, and they're always going to be kind of that indirect mentor because they brought you in, they recommended you, they're a friend. But what we also have is an actual mentor that is designated as another person to work with that new individual that's coming into the club, because we're not entirely sure that when people propose someone, did they tell them what the expectations are, with the weekly meetings, how long the meetings last, how much does the meal cost every week, what obligations do you have? In our club, we have, one massive fundraiser every 4th of July, and we really need everyone who is joining our club to help contribute to making that a success. So we want to make sure that we're laying out the expectations at the beginning so that there really aren't any surprises. And so kind of starting with the role with the proposer and not knowing what they're recommending to that person when they're bringing them in, then we assign a mentor, and we actually have mentor training. So a couple of times a year we'll have maybe a 1-hour session with specific individuals within our club who we believe would be a good mentor. When we first started down the process, of course, we invited everyone to participate. We wanted to make sure that some of our more seasoned members were participating, but what we found was those folks were really great mentors when they were present, but some of those individuals might have homes down in Arizona and they're gone for 4 or 5 months of the year. So if a new member joins in August, all of a sudden that person kind of feels left out because their mentor is gone. They're not really progressing in getting through their passport. And so we wanted to make sure that a mentor, if it's designated, that's someone that's going to be present for a good year or 2 years of that new member's life in our club. So they have that person to lean on. And we want to make sure that, a mentor is calling those new members and saying, hey, we've got a fireside coming up this week. Do you know what a fireside is? Do you remember? I want you to come. Or, there's district training going on up in Mount Vernon this, next month. You should really go. And so the role of the mentor is really to help encourage engagement with the new person that's coming in. And with that bond, and there comes a feeling of utility or usefulness. And we found that that's probably why people will stay or not stay if they come into the club and they just attend the meetings and they're not really getting involved in the board or in programs or in being a screener at the door. They're not getting involved in one of the committees that we have. I mean, we've got numerous committees and we certainly have room for people to participate. We find that those people don't generally totally engage, and so they're not getting a lot of value out of their membership in the club. So the mentor is someone who is just separate. They really take they take someone under their wing and help them along. They meet with them after they join the club. We try and set up a meeting so when we have somebody new come, the mentor says, hey, let's meet for lunch or for dinner or for drinks, and you go over the passport. It's the first thing that we do. We do give members a packet when they're inducted. That packet consists of probably the first letter from the president welcoming them to the club. It has a list of activities that we, like an activities checklist. We want to see what is that person that's joining, what are their interests, what are their hobbies, so that we can try and match them up with a committee. We also try and we vie for positioning, among the committees of, so-and-so is joining and they're going to be on my committee. And so we try and stack the deck that way. All's fair in love and war. We give them a t-shirt that, a Rotary Works t-shirt. We give them a pin. Joe, what am I missing? What else do we give in that member packet?
It has a wallet size of the 4-way test. I think it has some history of Paul Harris, just some good informational background material.
Right.
And of course,
Dave covered the presidential letters. And so then then, like Dave said, we adopted this passport. I thought we created it, so now I have to give some credit to the Chilliwack Club. Kudos. But we definitely embraced the passport a couple of years ago, and I think that we've enhanced it in a way that works really well for our club. We ran 2 or 3 brand new members through the passport program, and we tweaked it as they were going through because we realized some of our mandates or our requirements were really difficult for new members to achieve. And so one of the things that we do is when a new member joins is we give them a red badge. So they get their red badge. They don't get their normal Rotary blue badge until they've completed and turned in their passport. And the earliest that someone could turn in their passport, I think, is probably, you know, about 8 weeks, because you have to have 8 consecutive meetings in a row that you attend in order to get it. But this is our version of the passport that Dave has up. And so new member comes in, they get their red badge, and then within a week of them joining, their mentor takes them out for, you know, coffee or lunch or something, and they sit through and they start going through page by page. We talk about the 4-way test, we talk about the club, we sign off each page as we go through those things, making sure that the new member clearly understands what each of those things are, so that they're not surprised when they hear it in a meeting. We put in the mentor's name and their contact information, so, you know, cell phone or email or whatever that contact is, and then we give them their login name and password for Club Runner. And we strongly encourage our new members to engage in Club Runner. And so part of the passport passing criteria or graduation criteria is that the members need to go in and actually send an email to the entire club, you know, hi, it's me, Yola. And so we periodically get an email from a new member who, you know, we can tell is completing their task in their passport. So here is where we ask them to go into Club Runner. We show them, when I meet with a new member as a mentor, I take my laptop with me and we sit down, we log into Club Runner, we go through and we click on every single item that we think a member may need as they embrace our club. And this is where they upload their profile photo, and then we have them send an email, and then when they do all that, I, you know, as a mentor, would sign off on it. We provide them with the access in Club Runner to the member directory. They can get a printed copy if they wanted it. We could print it right out of Club Runner. Most people today download the Club Runner app, and so they have that member directory right there on their cell phone, which is quite handy. The mentor will meet with that individual and talk about dues. That's also something that our outreach coordinator will do when they go out and meet with the member before they become a member. They talk about dues, but now we kind of cover what's EREY, what are some of the optional things that come up, the importance around paying dues. Like many clubs, we do experience people kind of falling behind and getting their dues paid timely, so that causes a lot of, you know, follow-up conversations. So we're trying to really educate at the beginning. This is where we ask them to turn in their inventory of interests that was in their new member packet. And then, of course, we don't let them leave until they join a committee. So if they're a mentor for me, and currently, you know, I'm a member of the membership committee, but I'm also the director for the club for administration, I'm gonna recommend one of those 2 committees because, you know, they're my favorites. And, you know, Joe, what did you get sucked into? You got into foundation, right?
Yeah.
Also another good one. So we try and get people to join a committee right away, and we make those reminder phone calls as a mentor, come to our committee meeting, and keep them engaged. And then we've got the service time, and we want them to complete at least or participate in one service project before they graduate with their passport. And then we have fellowship time. And so we've got a couple of different options. You know, we tell them what the fireside is. And then we ask them to attend a fireside with us, or they could conversely invite our exchange student to join their family on an outing. So a couple of options in terms of fellowship time that members can do. We talk to them about their classification talk. In our club, the classification talk is set as a program. It generally lasts about 20 minutes, 25. And so we will usually have them schedule their classification talk sometime within that first couple of months of their joining. And then we work with them on what that classification means, and it gives them an opportunity to view. We generally have 2 or 3 classification talks every quarter, so this gives a new member kind of an opportunity to see what that classification talk is. We also have what I would call a reclassification talk for a seasoned member, somebody who's been in the club a while, that maybe gave theirs 5 or 10 or 15 years ago, and so we have that type of thing. Attending the district activities was another thing that we certainly encourage people to do. And then we've got 8 consecutive weeks of meeting, perfect attendance. And once they have that, then the mentor signs off on that particular page. And then we have some optional tasks. So the things that we talked about before were required tasks for them to pass through their passport. These are optional. We ask them to complete 4 of those, optional. We can have them serve as a greeter in a meeting. They can help setting up and breaking down, giving an invocation or being asked to lead the 4-way test or a flag salute. Those are all different ways that they can serve our club one time. Many of our new members actually serve as a greeter for an entire month, or they will they'll be tapped for the Pledge of Allegiance several times in that regard. We ask them to come to a board meeting. Our board meetings are open, and we certainly encourage them. This is an easy one of the 4 of 6 that they can do. Our board meetings are once a month, and it usually includes dinner and wine, so that's a nice feature. People will always come for that. We encourage people to come to go visit other clubs. And so I've gone a couple of times with new members to other clubs, and you can see each club has their own personality. And so it's a lot of fun to do that. And it's fun for the mentor to go to those as well. Because we kind of get stuck in our normal, every Thursday with Arlington. It's kind of nice to go outside of that every now and then in the community. This is where we have our members, they send an email. We remind them that, we use it only for Rotary business, and we don't exchange our member contact information. And then once they send people an email, we give them credit for that in their book. We have them collect autographs or signatures from 14 of the current members and find out what their occupation is. This is just kind of that icebreaker, getting to know people. So frequently you see these passports being passed around at the tables. And then we certainly talk about the foundation and all of the wonderful things that the foundation represents, how we benefit from the foundation when we give to the foundation. And trying to encourage people to really support that, because we still have members who actually don't give to the foundation every year, and it's disappointing, but people do what people will do, and we just want to mentor folks in knowing, because we have gotten several district grants, so we've gotten international grants, so we know that when we give in, that money comes back to us. So definitely important. And I think that's it. So once the passport is completed, then the member brings that back to their mentor, and it gets turned in. And then conversely, the mentor, like I would have a checklist where I'm kind of keeping track of my new members' progress. I'm making sure, okay, I've done these first few pages. I still need to do this so that I can continue to follow up with that person and say, hey, let's get through this. How are you doing? Have you been to a club meeting? Let's go next Wednesday. I've got time. We can go, for the 7 a.m. meeting in Mount Vernon or something. And that's just a great connection tool. Most of what I've found with our new members, it's quite competitive. People want to get that red badge gone fast. They don't want it very long. I'll let Joe speak to that, but they're quite excited when they get their blue badge, and they can wear that with pride. And so it's kind of a lot of fun. So if you've got a couple of people that came into the club together, and one is making massive progress getting through their passport, and the other one isn't, the other one's saying, hey, what's my mentor doing? I need my mentor. Give me a different mentor. This one's not working out for me. So we've made a couple of swaps. But that's really our passport program. And let's see, I think let's have Joe talk for a minute, because he is a new member, and he was one of the first ones that went through this, and we've tweaked it a couple of times, I think, since Joe's induction, but I'll let you chat.
Yeah. So thank you, and everything you described is exactly how we do it, and I think the process works. I can't speak for every new Rotarian, but looking at the steps to get somebody from being proposed to a blue badge, I think is important. Without sounding obvious, it is that new member's first Rotary experience, and that's where you make all the impression for what Rotary is. So I do think the biggest two steps are, how does the sponsor describe Rotary, and then that outreach, kind of pre-membership interview of talking about the expectations. So when you go into membership, you have a clear path laid out in front of you of why you're there, and that's service before self and above self, and nothing else. So learning that background, understanding what we're there to be as a Rotarian, for me, it really brought in a lot of pride. You get that buy-in with the history and seeing what we do. The second biggest thing, and what Yola and Dave both spoke to, is getting people engaged quickly. And so I liked the passport process. I thought it was very important and valuable to have something tangible in my hands when I'd leave that meeting, and I would still see the different things I would need to do. So, I had Rotary in front of me every day. And there was a competition. You get that red badge, and there's almost a friendly hazing, when you wear that. You want that blue badge, showing that you've gone through everything. And so it does give you that sense of fun urgency to be involved, to learn. And one of those things that Yola showed, getting those 14 autographs, for me, that was real helpful, because I'm not good at approaching people. And so that forced me to walk up and meet my fellow Rotarians and learn a little bit about them. And you quickly turn, or gain a lot of friendships from it. So the passport was really wonderful in engagement. The classification talk is great because it's intimidating, and you have to really take a look at, how do I get in front of this room of new friends and talk about myself when I'm here for Rotary, and talk about my business when I'm here for Rotary. And you learn a lot about yourself. It's very humbling trying to put that together in 20 minutes or so of content. And then that too forged a lot of friendships, because afterwards people would come up and, hey, we share some common interests. You talked about this activity you like, or that activity. And so I think that was a real important step of making that classification talk really part of the program. And then I think having a strong mentor, I was lucky I had Yola as my mentor. You need to have somebody that really does believe in Rotary. And so you don't want, just like she said, your maybe your most tenured members that know all the history, but you need the most engaged members and the most exciting members, because that excitement will spill over to the new member, and there's always something lost in that translation. So you need someone really excited, and you can tell from listening to Yola speak is she is great and she knows what she's doing, and I think that helps, having someone strong like that, with your experience. So again, it is, I don't think it can be overstated that mentorship and orientation, it is the new member's first experience. It has to be taken serious, because you want that member to renew the next year. And if it's not laid out exactly what it's going to be, some people are going to be there for the wrong reasons, and it's just going to be bad for the whole morale of the club.
Yeah. All right, I'll pay you later, Joe. No, it was a lot of fun. So that is exactly what we want our new members to feel like at the end of their experience, at the beginning of their Rotary experience. And we really, we strongly desire for people to stay with our club for a long time. We are very proud of a growing membership or a very strong membership. Our numbers don't change hugely from year to year. We generally add probably a net of 1 or 2 per year. Our club is getting younger in terms of our median age. We have a lot of younger folks joining, which is great. That brings differences to what we need to look at doing as a club, because someone who's been in the club for a very long time and has all this history of how we've always done things may want to do things in a certain way, and a new member, we need to engage with them on the level at which they want to engage. And so how do we offer activities that meet the needs of everyone within the club, from an age range of 28 years old up to 90? We've got to have some variety there. And so we schedule a lot of different service projects that speak to the young, medium, and old. We do a lot of different mentoring activities in terms of how we get people engaged. We put people to different committees. As I said before, we take a lot of care in selecting mentors, because we want to make sure that that mentor is someone who's been in the club a little while, and we think is going to stay a long while, because we want them to coach that person coming in. So giving them the mentors training, giving them the checklist, encouraging the use of Club Runner, those are all ways that we just hit the basics of mentoring 101. And then for each relationship, mentor and mentee, we hope that that's a positive one and will generate goodwill, generate a lot of value for both parties. One, it encourages the engagement of the new member, but 2, it keeps the member like myself, who's been in Rotary maybe 7 or 8 years now, also engaged. It rejuvenates the life of Rotary in me as I talk to new mentees. So Dave, anything to add?
Well, the training that we do with prospective mentors is really to make sure that they know everything that's in the passport, how to do it, so they can demonstrate it. And a lot of that goes back to Club Runner, because our club we're big fans of Club Runner, and we use it for our communication tools and that sort of thing. I am prepared to show you how we use it. Let me see if I can get it up here on share screen. This is our website, and I'm going to have to move so I can see the member login section. But when you log in to Club Runner and you get to the administration page, there is a section there is a section on new member program right here. Now we use the written checklist, but if you want to use that and set it up yourself, you can list your new member, and you over here where you can add new members, and you can build a list of activities. If you look at our activities here, they're all of the things that are in the passport. And it shows, like here for Jennifer, shows who their sponsor is, who the mentor is, and then goes through all of the various steps. Now that we've gotten away from using this, but it's a good tool. The other thing that we use to keep track of all of this is we use the committee management section of Club Runner. And it's right here. And we have, you pay extra to have subcommittees and that sort of thing, but you'll see here's our membership committee. Our membership director is Tony. If you click on that, it pulls up the full list of our membership committee. You can see we have a big committee. We have about 70 in our club, but under subcommittees, we have a mentoring subcommittee that Yola's chair of. And if you click on that, this pulls up the various committee members that, no, these are not the mentors. These are, some of these folks serve as mentors, but they're members of Yola's committee. Then as a subcommittee, we have a list of mentors. And this is, on the far left is our mentors. And then the position is, we've inserted the name of their mentee. And you can see then it includes the folks that are members. It's got their preferred phone number and email and that sort of thing in here. But that's kind of how we track. We've also, under the profile section, club profile section, or a member's profile, let me show you. Well, pull one up here and show it to you. We've added a section where for a mentor, some custom fields at the bottom, the mentor shirt size, and some folks have different emails or different addresses than their home address. Let me go back in here. I'm going to pull up Joe because then you can see that it's got Yola listed. And so I guess I go to the K's and find Joe Klein. There he is. Down at the bottom, you'll see we track who the mentor is right there, and that'll continue in the Club Runner profile. So that's how how our club handles orientation and mentoring, and I think it'd be a good time to open it up and find out what some of the other clubs are doing. I believe that, I think the Everett Club, if I know their process, they usually have kind of an informal gathering or meeting with their new members at a member's house, and they actually do mentoring in that fashion. And our club has never really had a new member event like that. I know Dennis toyed with the idea of doing some new member events by area. Ours got canceled where District Governor Brad and Dennis were kind of hosting those. So how do you want to open it up for comments, Dennis or
Well, Phoenix will have some questions or comments from the chat room, so perhaps she could get those out and we can pursue those and then see where we go.
Yes. Okay. So 1 second. It's gonna. All right. So it's gonna start. So John just wanted to bring up one thing about the passport, and he just wanted to make a note that RI suggested networking businesses is acceptable. So John, do you just want to take a second to explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, at one point, we felt the same way, and I think everybody did, was that it was to be used to promote your business once. But it seems to me about 2 years ago, I saw a note from RI saying that we would like to encourage people to talk more about their businesses and encourage conversations at table with other members about their businesses and get back to where Paul Harris started as a business grouping of 4 people. So
Dennis could sure comment on that. And I know Joe just recently signed up with one of our programs, if I understand that, Dennis.
Yeah, Dave, John, we've had for some time now Rotary Networking Plus. We've added business directory to it. So you can go on to the district site and there's a link right there on the left where we're trying to promote the very thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Rotarians doing business with Rotarians.
Yeah, and it seemed to me that it could be acceptable at meetings as well to talk about that. So it just was that one thing in the passport that struck me as being carved in stone, sort of. And I just wondered if the Arlington Club was being what's particular or being selfish to keep that in, or I think that's the wrong word. I can't think of the word that I'm after.
I think it would be a good addition to make sure that the mentor shows that to the mentee, because just a few minutes when we were getting started, before we actually let everyone into the meeting, Joe was commenting to Dennis that he didn't even know that it existed until recently. So
yeah, it was just in the passport, and seeing how it was our club that started the passport, I wonder if that was a leftover from us that you kept and you didn't want to change, or if it was just one of those things that happened and nobody noticed that it was different in 2 areas. One in your book and one in practice.
Yeah.
So, no, it's not a big deal. It was just a
Yeah.
thought that struck me on the way by.
it's a very good comment.
Thank you. All right, so Veronica said, for clubs with no mentorship program whatsoever, what's the best way to start? Is there a checklist or a resource for starting this sort of program? And does it differ if a club is smaller or larger?
Want to take that, Yola?
I think that, there's an awful lot of information out there on the district page that helped us to get started. And then I would say that our membership committee sat and toiled over it quite a bit on what we thought a mentor would look like, and how we wanted to frame that given the personality of our club. And so I think that it doesn't matter how large or small your club is. You do what works for you. There's enough of a framework to get you started in terms of the letters that go out, those new member letters, the checklists. Certainly, I know our club would share, what we've done. That just gives you some ideas, and then you will sprout your own ideas from that based on your own club's personality.
Great. And then Veronica also wanted to know what is the best, how best to encourage club to support starting new membership or mentorship of any new member orientation process.
I think in our club, we have a really robust membership committee. It's very active. It meets every month. We're constantly meeting, and there's a good core of 8 or 9 people that come to that committee meeting every single month, and a lot of great ideas are generated there. So that membership committee at its core is what generates the interest in growing our membership and retaining membership. That's where we're looking at our value add that we have in the community and with our potential or prospect members, as well as our current members, making sure that they're still engaged. You know, if people aren't attending meetings frequently, you know, we came up with some big fat fluffy duck, you know, stuffed duck, because we do the duck dash, and we would deliver the duck to them with a little "I miss you," and the next time you come to a meeting, bring the duck and I'm paying your happy buck. You know, just to keep people excited about membership. You know, it's not real sexy. It's just, you have to do it. You have to actually till the soil in order to get something to grow. And I think that we've done a really good job over all of the years that I've been in the club. But then again, I've been in the membership. They sucked me into membership committee on my first day, you know, before I even left the induction. That was done. And so I think that when you're looking at, you know, how healthy is the club, how badly do you want to grow, how much effort do you want to put into it, you know, are you going through and creating a prospect list and looking for people that you think might fit your club well? Are you reaching out to your members and saying, hey, you know, bring a friend to Rotary with you? Are you offering options where, you know, if you bring someone to Rotary as a guest, you'll waive the lunch fee? You know, what is it going to take to get people jazzed up about bringing someone to the club meeting? So again, it all is driven by your club's personality.
Veronica, I'd add that if you're a smaller club, Wellington's a big, healthy club. I would get your president-elect aside and have a little chat with them and see what interest they have, because it's a big part of the year coming up to make sure your membership's secure. The reality is we get new members and we lose as many as we get in general. So 1.2 million members in Rotary, the stat is we've lost that same number over 10 years. So the challenge is keeping people in the club. And this is a really good way, I think, to get the ball rolling there. So.
Yeah, and I would echo what Dennis just said. Historically, we might grow 10 members and we lose 9. Maybe we lose 10. We generally grow by 1, but we still have churn. We still see that happening. You know, this year, I think we're up to 7 members lost at this point. I don't know the official count, but last time I looked at it, that's where we're at. So we just know it's a fact of life. But how can we keep people, how can we retain members and look at those new people coming in? Is it the new people that are leaving, or is it the people that are retiring and moving off on, you know, in a different direction? So a lot of different angles we have to look at.
I thought you had to die to get out of the Arlington Rotary Club.
Well, that's what they told me.
Thank you. I actually happen to be the president-elect this year, so this is very helpful information. Our membership chair couldn't be here this evening, so she's going to love all of this. Thank you.
So have a chat with yourself, Veronica. But
I will.
Don't let anybody see you doing it.
Thank you.
So
all of these sessions are being recorded and are being posted on our YouTube channel. So you could get your membership chairs that aren't here to tune in on YouTube.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you.
Does someone want to explain what a fireside is?
Our club uses a term a little different than most clubs. I don't know if our members really know that. We call any social event we have, we call it a fireside. I think a lot of clubs, their firesides are groups or meetings of their members after hours to talk about things in their club. We've always just called firesides or socials firesides, and so does that help?
Yeah, I think that helps answer the question. So we've got about 5 more questions or comments, and we've got about a minute left. So Dennis, do you want to say any closing remarks, and then anyone who wants to stay on can answer the questions?
One of the questions is, how do we contact Yola? And you can do that by going to Yola. Would you like them to best contact you? Do you want to give them an email or?
Yeah, I'll give them an email address right now.
Just going to put it in the chat box for you.
Yeah.
So we're trying really hard to stay within the time frame. So feel free to hang around and talk some more after the official closing here. Dave and Yola and Joe, I want to thank you very much for walking us through what you do, and you do it very well. The program you have is excellent. So I'm hoping some of the folks on the call are going to pick up some good ideas from you. Phoenix, it's great to have you back helping us out as well. I have a couple of other ideas for membership sessions, but I think the next one will be one probably on the 9th of June, just for membership chairs. So I'm going to send a note out to your membership chairs and invite them to come and have a round page discussion around what they want in terms of further training, workshops, assistance. I think we'll make that our next program. I'd like to do one on Rotaract and Rotary, the connection, but we'll leave that one. I think it's time to do something on stress and COVID. I think we could do something on that, but I want to talk to the membership chairs and see what they think. So just before we go, Governor, you're here. Anything you want to say before we take off?
Oh, thank you, Membership Chair Dennis. I just want to thank you, Dennis and Yola and Phoenix and Joe, for making this happen. Mentoring, Dennis and I have talked quite a bit about it. I'm sorry we didn't get to a lot of the areas. We had a new member orientation, which sort of like a fireside, if you will, to talk about the district and how new Rotarians get the most out of Rotary. And as some of you may remember that message when I spoke to you about it when I visited your club. And that's what I like to do. And mentoring is extremely important. And I'm very pleased to hear of the very active membership committee that you have in Arlington, but also you have a subcommittee on mentoring. And I think this is extremely important because we lose most of our members. As I'm sorry I got in here late, I was at another training session. But we lose most of our members in the second or third year. So it's always important to engage them. And Joe mentioned that right up front, and very important, as Joe mentioned, engage the members right away. You didn't have a choice, Joe. You got on the membership committee before you left the meeting. And this is what it takes. I remember as president, I assigned someone to a committee, and they met right after that meeting. So they had the first meeting right after the fellow was inducted. So please go back to your clubs and really focus on membership. And it's not to gain more members, to have more members. It's the purpose is to have an impact in your community and in communities around the world. We can do that better if we have more members. So please really consider having a very active membership committee. And a lot of clubs have their past presidents automatically become a member of the membership committee. And it is extremely important. So thank you so much for putting this on. Please go back to your clubs and talk about this, because one of the goals I wanted to do this year, and I think we should be, well, quite selfishly every year, is for members to get the most out of Rotary, to become completely engaged, because it does enrich their lives. And you've stayed on for 7 or 8, 9 years, Yola. And obviously it's enriched your life. And I think everyone on this video or this Zoom meeting can say the same thing. So take that to heart, and please go back to your clubs and start this conversation. And Dennis is going to be here. He's going to be membership chair next year. He's going to follow this through, and we're very grateful for that. And let's sort of take something from the Bible, but not in its sense, but go forth and multiply. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So I would say if anyone has to go, you're more than welcome to, but we will continue with a few more questions. So Rod, thank you for patiently waiting. Did you want to say something in addition to what you had commented on?
So Phoenix, that document is available on the Rotary website. You can go and find that. Just type in 414EN and you'll come up with that. And it's introducing a new Rotarian to your Rotary Club. It's fairly basic. It isn't as detailed as what we've seen tonight. But if you're a smaller club and you want to start a program, that will give you the tools that you need to get your program started, and then you can expand it as your club develops new ways of doing things. So you don't have to jump in with both feet. Just get started, and that document will give you what you need to do that.
Great, thank you. And then there was a question. Oh, sorry. So someone was wondering about I guess, how long would the new member have the mentor for?
Forever. Joe's stuck with me. I know, Joe's stuck with me forever.
We do reassign mentors after the blue badges, but that doesn't mean that you can't still be a good friend and a contact, a go-to person after the blue badge is presented to the new member.
Great, thank you. And then the last comment was from Carol. She was saying that RI had indicated that most members leave in the third year, as Brad had mentioned. Your great mentorship program embraces new members in first few years, I think. Have you considered that critical period of membership?
Oh.
So I am on the district committee as committee chair for communication. So if anybody, we're more than willing to share any of the documents that our club uses. All my contact information is on the district website. Just look under the section on the district organization, and you'll find my contact information.
Okay, Carol, did you want to expand on your question, or was it answered?
It had to do with more about the fact that RI has indicated that the critical age or time of Rotarian membership leaving Rotary is in the 2nd to 5th year of being a member. And it sounds like your club is doing an amazing job in the first year or two. What are you doing with members in that critical 3rd to 5th year, if anything?
I would hope that by the end of the 2nd year, and Joe might be better to answer this because I think he is probably about year 2 now. I would think that by the end of that 2nd year, they're now fairly engaged in the club, and they've generated friendships and networking of their business, and they've gotten to know people so much better that they're getting value out of what they've joined into because they're just engaged. And so we've only started this mentorship program, what, Dave, solidly like 3 years ago?
3 or 4.
Yeah, and so I think that we could probably just now start looking at new members to see what our retention rate is of those who have joined, but it's still been relatively new for us in this program.
I think that's a valid comment. Because again, me personally, speaking for myself, I'm not a very outgoing person in a group. And so if I signed up, I'd finish my year. 2nd year, maybe I'm sticking it out, but I'm starting to waver on if I want to continue going. And so if I didn't have a strong first impression and become engaged and part of the club, I could see by year 2 and beyond of dismissing the club. And so I think that laying that early foundation really does pay off in those latter years. So I think that's valid.
Our club, we try to have a social event and a project, one a month. That's how we keep our people engaged. And when you do a project together, you're not only getting something done, but you're getting closer and you're becoming part of the club family. And that's true with the social events as well.
Can I ask Joe a question about the red badge, blue badge situation? Because I've heard in some clubs that use that process that the red badge new Rotarians feel like they're subclass citizens. How do you feel about that?
I found it as a positive motivator. And I don't think any of my fellow red badges at the time felt picked on or second class from it. I do feel it was a fun competition to get off of the red badge because, you had to get up and introduce yourself at the beginning of every meeting like a new person and different little things that, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. So no one ever talked down to me in the club. No one brushed by me if I try to approach them because I have a red badge. If anything, I think our club is pretty gracious, and when they see the red badge, I think I saw members coming up to me trying to introduce themselves and welcome me to the club, and they'd ask me, hey, pull out your passport, what do you have left to get to that blue badge? To me, it was encouraging. I didn't find any negative experiences like you're hearing there, no.
Well, Joe, thank you for that, and welcome to the family of Rotary.
Thank you.
Actually, I would echo what Joe said a little bit. It's probably more of a negative on the mentor. So in the club, the person who has a red badge mentee for quite a long period of time, it's their mentor that's kind of being spotlighted. And I've had a new member in the last year who did come forth and say, gosh, I love, pick a name, Bill, but Bill's just not here all the time. And I want to get through all of this, but who could take over for Bill if he's not here? I need a different mentor. So we actually reassigned someone, and they're quite happy, and they're still great friends with Bill, and they have another mentor. So now they have like a mentor and a half, and it worked really well. But I would say it's not the new member that's getting chided. It's more it's the mentor that's getting chided. You're not doing your job.
Great, thank you. And so we'll go to one last question from Veronica. So how many mentees does a single mentor have at a time?
We try and spread them out because obviously if I'm a mentor for Joe, I want to put a lot of effort into that. And so we would try not to have more than one at a time, but I might have two over a 2-year period. So we've been doing this, I think, 3 years, and I've had 3 mentees at this point. I just took on a third, before COVID. So I find that, one a year, that's a nice breathing room in between them. And we've got enough people trained as mentors in our club at this point. We've got 7 or 8 or 9 people trained. And so when you've got 7 or 8, 9 people coming into the club as a new member, you've got enough people at this point that you don't have to carry more than one at a time.
Great, thank you. So that wraps up all the questions for today.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Night all.